Hey everybody, welcome back to another one of Mudflap's movie reviews. My name is Mudflap and today I will be reviewing a movie dubbed the worst movie ever made. Today I will be reviewing The Room. Let's get started. So a friend of mine recommended this movie to me because I've been looking for some bad movies to review and he suggested The Room. And I had heard of The Room. It's a very familiar, dismal movie failure that I'm sure a lot of people have heard of, maybe even seen. I've never seen it. I make it a point to avoid movies like this, but I want to mix it up, review a bad movie once in a while, and this movie was rough to watch. It reminded me a lot of like a Hallmark movie. It had that Hallmark feel, but it was like Hallmark times 10. It was terrible. Absolutely terrible. It lives up to its name, no doubt. I don't know what the director was thinking when he wrote this, when he produced it. Like, did he think it was going to be a good movie? Poorly written, mind-numbingly boring. The plot didn't go anywhere. With a plot like that, it had a good synopsis. A guy and a girl are in love. The girl gets sick of the guy, and the girl cheats on the guy with his best friend. The bad thing about this movie was the plot didn't develop. More than 3 times, the character Lisa mentioned that she was sick of Johnny and how she wanted to move on and love his best friend Mark. Well, she says it over and over again, and we got the point the first time. She didn't love Johnny, and she's keeping this secret the whole time, but she's like not doing anything about it. She didn't make any big moves at all until like the very end of the movie, and even then, it was pretty weak. And of course, you might expect this is a very predictable movie, and of course, Johnny didn't take the news so well. The pace of the movie was really, really boring. It just stayed at the same pace the whole time. There weren't any slow times, there weren't any fast times, there wasn't any build up to any climax or anything. The scenes just happened, and you weren't excited or you weren't looking forward to anything to happen because the people who were acting, their acting skills were so terrible. The way they delivered their lines, the way they delivered different fights and other moments that in other movies that have been way better written than this would have been really awesome to see. But the way these guys portrayed it and the way they, their presence on screen was just so boring to begin with. It just didn't get you excited and didn't really surprise you because you could predict it from the very beginning of the movie that it just wasn't going to go well. There's a lot of moments in the movie where the word cringe comes to mind because that's all it was. It was just cringe after cringe after cringe. I know a lot of people make fun of this movie mainly because it's just a cult classic, because I can see how people can just tear this movie apart and have a fun time doing it. And I had a fun time pointing out all the things that are wrong with this movie, and some critics out there have also said that this movie is a really, really great example of how to make a really bad movie, and I definitely agree with them on that because Tommy Wiseau did a terrible job writing this movie, producing it. Everything just fell apart. I mean, there was no life in this movie. It was just utterly boring, and it was just sucking my soul out. All the movie magic, there wasn't any movie magic. There wasn't enjoyment for me out of it. I was just watching this to see what the heck this movie is even about. This movie was utterly horrible, and I will never see this movie ever again as long as I live. My least favorite moment of this movie was there's a fight scene between Lisa and Johnny where they're going back and forth, and Lisa's trying to tell him that she's not interested in him anymore, she doesn't love him. And Johnny's getting all conflicted, and there's a line where he says, "You're tearing me apart, Lisa." And it's just the delivery of all this is what makes it the worst part. Is it could be a really great fight between people who used to love each other, but it's not. It's just so horribly written, and their delivery was terrible. You just want the movie to end. You want the moment to just be over because you can't stand watching it anymore. There's also a little fight scene in there, and it wasn't even a fight scene. It was more like pushing each other, almost a cat fight really. Like, I was expecting someone to start swinging or anything, but they didn't. They were just talking trash, shoving each other here and there, and then you got all the women around them acting hysterical, just like you would see in a Hallmark movie. I was expecting someone to get knocked out, and nobody got knocked out, so that was disappointing. For The Room, I'm going to give this movie the lowest rating I probably will ever give a movie ever. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10 Mudflaps. And before you go, drop in the comments below. I'm curious to know, what do you think is the worst movie ever made? And as always, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, and I'll see you next time.